Hello and welcome to episode number 5. Today me and Daria will be talking to someone who might save your life in the future. And he also has a study that you might not expect to be in the FSC.
Hello.
Hello.
Care for an introduction?
Yes, of course. My name is Oskar. I am doing the study of pharmacy and or pharmaceutical sciences, whatever you like to call it, I guess. Here they call it pharmacy, which confuses everyone back from where I'm from. And I was born in Poland, spent very little time there, although all my family's from there, and swiftly moved to Ireland when I was very young, and hence no Eastern European sounding accent, thank God. I'm here because...
I asked you to be here.
Yes, maybe a little bit, but also because podcasting's great, and I'd like to maybe help some who would like to maybe apply in the future for the Bachelor of Pharmacy, maybe.
Ideal outcome. I love that.
Yeah.
Is pharmacy something you always wanted to do?
I can't say it was something I always wanted to do. I definitely, in the recent years, was always kind of considering psychology, neuroscience, that sort of thing. Not for any like concrete reason, but mainly because I always liked, I guess, biology and chemistry and physics as well. And in my opinion, pharmacy is a really nice amalgamation of all that. And then, as time went on, I started thinking, medical sciences would be cool, and medicine would be cool, but it's a trek to get into. And also, in general, I wouldn't be great at dealing with patients, like face-to-face, trying to inspect them and everything. You know that shtick that doctors do every single time you go to your GP? They check everything. I'd be able to do that, but I don't know if I'd be able to do that responsibly. And then, if it's something like a broken bone or something, Jesus, God help me. So that's why I've decided to be slightly more hands-off. Still a lot of, pressure on my shoulders because getting a drug wrong would be pretty scary. But yeah, that's why I've chosen.
So is that a type of subject that you explore, like development of medicine or something like that?
Yes. So kind of initially in the program, you start off with a basic, I guess, microbiology kind of background. So you delve into microbiology of the cell, genetics, then like related to that microbiology kind of practical. And then in the first year, there's a lot of emphasis on, academic research and communication skills. You have that kind of coming in and out throughout the year. And then later on in the year, you kind of delve into, the meat and potatoes of some of the more, I guess, technical stuff. So your chemistry and organic chemistry in particular, mathematics, a little bit of that. And of course, then some of the stuff that is more related to, I guess, medicine. So human physiology and pharmacology bit, of course, more centered towards us. But it's great. And a lot of kind of chemistry starts being thrown in. You kind of start off with a lot of biology and there's a bit of industry stuff as well. So you've got pharmaceutical technology and biopharmacy. That gives you an, I guess, overlay on some of the industry elements, gives you the whole idea of like dosage forms and like the importance of them and how patient compliance is like one of the largest, I guess, aspects of like pharmacy from like a, pharmacist to human perspective. And you kind of learn that you're the individual that has to check the doctor's advice. So you, in theory, have to know a little bit more than what the doctor knows if it comes to, obviously the drug side of things, because that's what you're there for. But sometimes, I guess, you're there to correct whatever.
As a pharmacist, you mean?
Yes, a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that put pressure on you to know things, kind of?
Yeah, of course. But also, obviously, it is your expertise in the end. You're there to, I guess, solve those problems. So, you want to be very knowledgeable, and you want to be able to actually pick out certain things, because obviously the GP, the whatever, even the specialized doctor will not, always know exactly the best dosage or exactly the best drug that might be used to treat something. Of course, he's trained to know that, and he's supposed to know, I guess, it in a decent amount of detail. But you can always, it's nice to have someone to bounce ideas off of, I guess, especially with treating an illness. So yeah.
You said communications was part of the program.
Yes.
How do you use that?
So a lot of it is definitely more from the side of, in case you're going to be in the more kind of research, medical, pharmaceutical sciences side of things, you need to be able to know how to read a scientific paper, of course.
Right, yeah.
And a lot of it is also related to, knowing how to present some of the information that you've either researched or found. And also knowing, of course, how to write an academic paper to a certain degree. And most of it is still just kind of like reading information, seeing what sticks. But I'm sure that all the other science subjects have something similar.
Yeah, well, astronomy actually doesn't.
Oh, okay,
So that's
interesting. Interesting.
But maybe it's we write a little bit less, or I don't know. I also looked on Ocasis and I saw that you have human psychology. Why do you think that's included?
So unless it's an elective that I haven't heard of.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I believe
Could
it.
be.
I believe it wasn't psychology; it was physiology. But
Okay, I'm very dyslexic.
No. That's
Shit,
okay.
I'm exposed.
That's perfectly okay. Although a human psychology side of things would be very interesting, and some of that is covered in pharmaceutical technology and biopharmacy, where you, I guess, learn perspectives of the patient, and also there's a kind of global health and kind of pharmacy course at the very end of the year. More of this type of stuff is gone into more detail in the pharmacy master. So like then when you're actually training to be in a pharmacy or a hospital pharmacy or whatever, you then like really need to know your interpersonal skills. So maybe there's more specific training related to that. But yeah, for the first couple of years, it's human physiology.
Okay. And do you have any ethics course?
So nothing too explicit. Obviously, in every course that has to deal with any sort of new research, like, for example, all the CRISPR technology, I remember in the first course we had molecular biology of the cell, we had a lot related to that. And, it's the common conversation that often kind of goes into the media and is then talked about by many people. And I guess sometimes, some of the information gets lost because it's not actually experts talking about it sometimes. But there is an ethical side to things, but often from the pharmaceutical side of things, when you're actually testing a drug, you're looking for its effectiveness, and it's the numbers that kind of judge whether you've done something that's like you're trying to release a drug that is perhaps maybe very addictive or et cetera, kind of with a lot of opioids. That's the issue, and or has dangerous side effects, and you need to test for that. So rigorous testing is there to test for that, and you first test on, let's say, it's rarely in vivo first. You first go in vitro, you go behind the glass cells only, and then maybe mice, and then human subjects once that gets approved, So it is a lot. It's a step-by-step process, and we're definitely checked, especially the numbers. And I guess fudging numbers is not...
What do you mean with the numbers?
By the numbers, I mean just like if we're testing a drug, we're looking for its bioavailability. So how much of it, once it enters a body, an organism, can be absorbed by that organism, whether it's easy or like whether it's going to where it's supposed to be. So, for example, if you wanted a drug to cross your blood-brain barrier, a little bit more difficult molecules need to be involved because I won't go into too much. But
It's interesting. Go on.
But basically, because we are made up of water, most of the molecules that we need to, like most of the drugs that we take in, need to be able to dissolve in that water because otherwise it's difficult to actually get around the body. And that means they have to be polar. And the blood-brain barrier is a little tricky because only kind of non-polar compounds will get through. Extremely polar compounds will have an issue. So therefore, yeah, there's always that interest. And also, if the molecule's too big, it won't get through either. So
Right, and you then test the effectiveness, and
Yes.
if it works, and that's what
Yeah.
you mean with like the numbers.
exactly.
Okay.
So there's plenty of parameters.
Yeah,
Whoever decides to delve into it, like if I had notes in front of me or like something like that, I could probably go through some of these things. But whoever wants to delve into it will find out that there's a.
is there any general like percentage of effectiveness? That's a bit vague, but like, is there a standard for?
So of course, as you can tell when you, for example, buy a drug from a pharmacist at a pharmacy, if you look at if you look into the box and you get all the labels and all the information about it, you always have a description, like what it's used for, like what it's made up of, and then you have plenty of side effects always.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing, once again, like the thing that I definitely took out of my first year was that personalized medicine is still a way away. Let's put it that way. A lot of it is still trying to be as general as possible. Obviously, with technology like CRISPR, where we can actually identify genes that might be causing a problem, there you've got a very much kind of far more silver bullet approach to things. However, with just common drugs, you have the issue that because we're all different, we're all made up of a different, like every single one of us has a different genome, we're all going to have a problem. Like, there's always going to be a certain percentage that will have an issue, and everybody will respond differently. So, like, that's why the side effect label is always so long.
Yeah.
And there's always, like, common side effects, slightly rarer ones, very rare ones, and the very rare ones are always the very scary ones. But, that's where all,
But I feel like it can't.
effectiveness
Yeah,
comes
it
into.
can't be any other way if you have 7 billion people.
Yes, exactly. And if we're all different, then, jeez.
Yeah.
And all of the like knowledge, like you sound incredibly knowledgeable. So you did a great job at something smart. But I'm just no. Okay, he's nodding his head no for the record. I'm wondering, does that put you more at ease in a way with like taking care of yourself and knowing the possibilities that you have to maintain yourself? Or are you more aware of things that could go wrong?
Yeah. No, definitely. I guess even with the vaccine talk and everything, especially with science, is a game of probability, right? And it's always, the odds are always kind of either in your favor or not. And most of the time with most drugs, if they're supposed to treat something that's very common, they're supposed to be effective, giving you, relief and very few side effects. For more specific things, you've got the higher, danger because, for example, it is a rare disease or whatever. And yes, do I therefore, feel more happy with, or more knowledgeable about what I consume or I don't know, am I more conscious about my body in that regard? Yes and no. Like I know certain things. I understand like the complications related to the overdosing on something, and that's another beautiful thing about pharmacy. You learn that everything can be a poison and or a cure. So that is also fascinating. Like everything can be used to potentially cure something. Almost everything. Like especially with some like biosynthesis or like certain kind of alterations, you can literally use everything to cure. But also, depending on the dose, anything can be poison as well, even water. So it's quite interesting. But these sort of things definitely float around my head, and you you, I guess, walk through life kind of knowing these things, and then sometimes being scared by the amount of sugar someone put in their tea or something. But yeah.
Did you expect to like find these things interesting when you went into pharmacy, or is it more so like a found interest?
No, I definitely was kind of, I guess, enamored by the whole idea of, let's find out how to treat someone, let's find out how people tick, and and getting into the ins and outs of I guess helping people, because that has always been on my radar. So
that's something we wanted to put in the introduction, like we weren't gonna kiss your ass, because like doctors save people's life. Maybe like, I think on average it was between like 300 and 1,300 in the average career of a doctor. But if you create a good vaccine, you can literally save countries, right?
Yeah, so. For sure. Vaccines are extremely topical at the moment, of course.
Yeah.
Vaccines are definitely like just a side of what we do, and of course it stems ridiculously at some stage. But because there's far too many specifications. But yes, the whole idea behind, yes, doctors save whatever, a certain portion of lives, or like on average will be involved in saving this amount of lives. That's kind of, I guess a pharmacist can in theory trump that if they definitely, like, I don't know, are involved in creating a drug that can, save people from a horrible disease or something that has a very high death rate, etc., if left untreated. So, there's also, I guess there was a bit of that, like, oh yeah, once again, higher numbers. You could really, if you get lucky, because a lot of luck is involved, of course, but if you manage to actually discover something that is beneficial, and that's, if you go into the research side of things, otherwise you'll be in a pharmacy helping the day-to-day person, and there you're also potentially saving lives, because you're educating people on, safe doses and etc. So, yeah.
Are those the only two options or career options you have?
Obviously, there are other out-of-the-box career options that are definitely not down the sort of, I guess, trodden path by many people. But medical pharmaceutical sciences is really wide, because you can step into, I guess, more of the economic side of things and become a bit of a big pharma bro, or you can also, Martin Shkreli in the building, but you can also go down basically research, and because there are so many paths related to the receptors that are involved in basically taking up whatever molecule or being affected by whatever molecule that you're studying, and in general creating molecules that might be effective, and then the general kind of statistics side of things, because you need people to actually analyze the data from a very kind of professional side of things. And then there's I guess a lot of the lab work as well is very specific. Sometimes it ranges quite a lot. So medical pharmaceutical sciences definitely kind of opens a huge potential into like what you could be doing. Otherwise the pharmacy is quite I guess strict in where you could go. And after the Bachelor of Pharmacy, in theory, you could, like, because it's a science bachelor, you could in theory like go Master of Neuroscience, Master of whatever. They don't it's not I guess typical path in the University of Groningen, so they wouldn't push you towards that. But like, if you've got some aspirations and you want to go down a path that has not been taken by many people, of course, with the science degree you can definitely then pivot into different science-related masters and see where that takes you. Although, I'll be honest, I haven't thought that far. I haven't tried to experiment with crazy things.
That's okay.
Well, you mentioned science. And we mentioned that not many people know that pharmacy is in the FSC.
Oh, right.
Do you have any inkling as to why it's in the FSC and not in the medical faculty?
Yeah, I think I understand a little bit now. I am not too well versed in the medical, I guess, curriculum, so I can't state exactly what they do. But one of my friends, doesn't study medicine here, but studies medicine back in Ireland. And he was surprised by, for example, the amount of chemical and, in general, just mathematical calculations that we do. So the way I see it is that we're in the FSE because we are quite analytical and therefore, I guess, slightly removed from the medicine side of things, although we're very medical as well because we have lots of aspects of physiology and I guess how the body works. So yeah, it's a bit of both, and that's why we're kind of, I don't know, we're like on both planks. We're like on both sides of the river, you know.
Nice.
So yeah.
I was wondering if you go into the research department, let's say, is that very competitive or?
Yeah. So from all the stories, I guess all of us have heard about, I guess, getting or like having a PhD position anywhere, and then, actually then being able to step into academia straight away after you're done with university. Unless there's like, a clear spot that's open, that is often quite difficult.
Because there are very little spots, or because of
yes. So obviously, when you're going up for top positions, it's always going to be competitive, no matter what it is. So that's always an issue. But also, I guess most of the time, when you're done with kind of medical pharmaceutical sciences or with pharmacy, obviously you go to a pharmacy, hopefully, but with medical pharmaceutical sciences, you often step into kind of what used to be the kind of biopharmaceutical sector, and like, maybe large companies that have, I guess, huge, I don't know, research buildings, etc. But now it has definitely kind of broken down into a lot of, I guess, freelancing, because there's a lot of aspects in gathering scientific data, and apparently it's quite. I actually had an interesting lecture where I did speak to some people in the field, or not speak, but it was a lecture on their end. So I asked a couple of questions, but nothing crazy, and they were saying that basically it's becoming very 50-50. Obviously, you've got your Pfizers, you've got your Bayers, you've got your various pharmaceutical companies, Johnson & Johnson, etc. But you also have a lot of more freelancers who, I guess, own their own company, and there's like maybe 5 to 10 people on their kind of payroll, and they just do kind of analyses that another company, like, it's a lot of just basically hubs where they accept data, and they, for example, will kind of find out various statistical kind of aspects of it for you, or from like the research side of things, there might be, you might want to commission I guess, you're working for clients at the end of the day, and you might want to commission something.
Yeah, but even if it's like a freelance company, do they all have to abide by the same rules and regulations?
Yeah, so, I haven't read into these. I'm not an expert. However, there always is rules with all this. I'm guessing even there's like in the European Union, there's definitely like actual European regulations on this matter. Yeah, but not well versed.
Yeah,
I can ask my girlfriend; she might know.
Do you feel that sort of the way you're being taught and the things you're being taught push you in either direction, more towards research or more for a practical approach?
At the moment, they're trying to give us like a general, I guess, kind of, fill the canvas slightly, but leave certain things untouched, and kind of, leave it up to us where we want to go. I guess the research, they try to make it very balanced so that you kind of understand what's going on, and you can make up your own mind. So I wouldn't say they try to push us in, one direction or another.
And on top of that, are they maybe challenging you to think outside the box when it comes to like creating a medicine? Or not really, maybe.
I guess at the root of it, it is the goal, right? And a lot of whenever we're just doing basic assignments, they will try to get you to figure out everything on your own, so that you know how to independently kind of get with the program and try to figure things out on your own. And of course, if you happen to do a PhD, then you're really kind of in the deep on your own. You're definitely doing your own research, and you kind of are in charge of your own destiny, and you're doing it for yourself as well. So then it's very much almost entrepreneurial. Like, it's just you doing your thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have a research topic, but you have to find out the best way to actually research these things and then write a paper about it.
Yeah, because is it true that medicine can work in very different ways? Like can you be creative in that sense?
As in,
like you have medicine to treat something, to lower symptoms, I don't know, like I'm very ignorant about this stuff, but I guess it depends what the goal is on whatever you're trying to treat, I guess. So we can go into the hot button topic here with the coronavirus.
Yeah.
The issue is that you know that in general everyone's goal is obviously they have something has recently been released. I haven't read up on it, but they have released a pill that can relieve kind of symptoms of COVID apparently it has been approved to some scale by the FDA in America. So they have got that going. They also, obviously, the first thing that everybody thought was, okay, it's a virus. We don't know how scary it is. Let's try to actually eradicate it immediately. That is always a very optimistic goal, but often with viruses, it's a very tricky one. So, so I guess it depends what your goal is when you kind of start off.
Yeah.
Because if it's something that might be like a genetic issue or something, then really the only thing you can do now with CRISPR, with the dawn of CRISPR, we're in a different world, and we'll see where that takes us. But obviously, until we have that technology, the only thing we could do was treat it. So that was kind of everybody's goal was, okay, let's try to just ease some of the symptoms or try to get rid of them totally, if that's possible, with whatever drug we're trying to create.
Yeah.
And with the whole COVID thing, especially because it's so closely linked to pharmacy, are you like overwhelmed by that being given as an example in every single lecture?
They definitely gave it as an example a lot last year, although this year I think they've decided to kind of slow down a bit. Or maybe we haven't had, I guess we've had pretty streamlined lectures, as in they've been not too general, because after the first year they try to kind of streamline certain things and they try to, like we're talking about this and not too many news stories, etc. But yeah, I get definitely last year they were definitely talking about it a lot, and everybody keeps saying COVID will be a very interesting case study in your education for sure, because it's just happened and people are constantly releasing new research on the topic, etc. So it'll definitely be a recurring theme constantly in our education.
Yeah, it's an interesting time to be a pharmacy student right now.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. That's what every lecturer was telling us last year. So,
And still this year.
Well, a little bit.
But this year, when they say you just cry, you don't feel proud or anything. It's just tears.
Sometimes, it would be great to be in person a little bit more. But
I have a question, but you might not be able to answer it. When it comes to like Corona and developing a vaccine, do you know how they pick like the people or the researchers that do that?
I can't speak on how they would pick individuals who would be involved in research, although most of the time it is kind of, I guess, the research is taken up by, I guess, a source of money, right? So often the whatever biopharmaceutical company has the money will start researching, and obviously also often some of these things like a COVID vaccine is somewhat commissioned by the general public and or many governments. So depending on who gets the funding and who has the best reputation, etc. But I think, I can't say if Pfizer got any funding from the American government, but it is often whoever had money is always power in everything, and especially in the pharmaceutical industry. So, whoever has the money to research, because it takes a lot of money to research something. It takes many, many years for like a drug to go from, oh yes, we've come up with this cool new idea. Let's see if it works. Multiple trials, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. Crazy business. Lots of people tested on. And then in the end, it might not even come out because, after 7-8 years, might not even come out because, of course, maybe the efficacy isn't there, or maybe, a better drug already exists, or maybe there's some harmful side effects that we don't want on the market, so let's not. All that, unfortunately, can sometimes happen. So even the discovery of a new drug can be either very soul-sucking, steal the life away from you, at least from just the idea of all that time, or if you actually accomplish it, then Jesus. Greatest rush of dopamine you've probably ever felt.
Then you don't need drugs. You just have the dopamine.
Yes, exactly. You're just running off it, but that's just you, and probably only for like a couple of days, and then then you just see the numbers in your bank account rising constantly, and you're just sitting there like, it's nice, but what can I do?
Is that how it works? With
oh
price?
God. Sorry, that was a bit of speculation. Don't take that as fact.
Okay.
However, I can only imagine if you were personally involved in actually discovering something new, then you'd be, I guess, somewhat swimming in cash, just depending on what the contract was and how much you were promised.
Bureaucracy,
beforehand.
of course.
Yes, of course. But
so we had a bit of a chat about vaccines, and to sort of turn it down a little bit from our current predicaments. From what you've learned, is there any vaccine or drug in general that you just feel like you personally feel like influenced medicine in a categorical way?
We could start from the first vaccine. Obviously, will I get my facts right here? Smallpox vaccine. I hope that's it. But yes, no, for sure. There is
Or your favorite one?
My favorite
there
vaccine?
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Or drug in general.
Drug in general? Ooh.
We can start on a smaller scale. What's your favorite COVID vaccine?
My favorite COVID vaccine?
Yeah.
Let's just say I can't really go into the super scientific side of things. I wouldn't be able to say, oh yeah, it's this one because really neutralizes the spike protein at a fantastic level, etc. But what I can say is, I guess Moderna, because it sounds cool.
Yeah, Moderna
Sounds really kind of hipster.
Fair enough.
I didn't get it, unfortunately, but it sounds hipster. I think the people who got Moderna feel pretty cool. I don't know. Once again, I think Pfizer is the best one in theory from the research that has been done. So hey, I'm doing all right then. Got the Pfizer jab, but Moderna sounds cool. So if it comes to just sounding name, Moderna for sure.
Okay. Marketing is important, so
Johnson & Johnson or whatever.
J&J.
Sounds boring.
Or Janssen. Not my favorite.
I picture two old white dudes when you say Johnson.
But also honorable mention has to go to Sputnik. The Russians came through there. That's.
We just got confirmation that the smallpox vaccine is correct. It was the first vaccine.
Oh, perfect. Thank God I know something, guys. Year and a half of pharmacy hasn't failed me yet. Oh no. But yes. The smallpox vaccine was revolutionary. I am scared to pinpoint who exactly actually developed it, but please cut this out. This is a little embarrassing.
It's all right.
Have you any interaction with an anti-vaxxer or not?
I feel like we all have to some extent.
Unfortunately, I have a family member that is on that wavelength, and we kind of avoid the topic.
Okay.
It's not something that we really talk about.
Not something you bring up at Christmas dinner.
Definitely not. I love her to bits, but one family member that is a little. We don't understand. No one really understands why she happened to fall down that rabbit hole. But
Does she have Facebook?
more than likely, I don't actually know. I don't use Facebook anymore, and I never found out if she does have Facebook. But and I definitely don't ask. But I know for a fact that she was definitely always a bit of an oddball. So no, but at the same time, love her to bits, and I hope we can win her over one of these days. It'd be
It would
great.
be nice. Maybe if she listens to the podcast.
Yeah,
Who
yeah,
knows?
yeah. But in general, you know, I've been acquainted and/or knew anti-vaxxers in the past, but I never really talked to them about it. Obviously, like some kids in school would have not been vaccinated because their mothers or fathers didn't believe in it, etc., which would have been pretty crazy, at least from my perspective. But then, like, you know. The only thing you'd hear was like, oh yeah, you know, vaccines aren't natural and all that, and you're like, oh god, oh no. The only reason why there's 7 billion of us on this planet is because of vaccines. Full stop. Like otherwise, we'd be getting killed off by various, you know, bacteria and viruses. So it's a touchy subject, but you know, freedom of choice. We live in a democracy. We don't want, you know, totalitarianism, so we good.
Nice, great.
We happy with whatever people choose to do, although silently not too happy, but you know, you got to live in that kind of dichotomy.
Wow, fancy words. I have a bit more a question I have personally. I had a surgery in the summer, and they gave me some really, really nice drugs. So I was wondering, are you guys also improving drugs that are already existing?
There are always improvements being made on drugs that are existing. There's always certain things that you can tweak, unless like the bioavailability of a drug. So like it's, you know, if you give someone a gram of a drug, then that gram, all of that drug gets used up. You know, if the bioavailability is 100%, and then also if, you know, side effects aren't large, etc., then there's, you know, very little space to kind of improve on. But if there is space to improve on, and if it is like a drug that is either become very popular because X, Y, and Z, you know, and is very important and you know, could use an upgrade, then of course there's always research going on. There's always certain, you know, be it biosynthesis or just creating it from scratch synthetically based on a previous product, you know, finding out all that. And then also, yeah, even there are sometimes improvements on drugs. Like this was more so probably in previous decades, but drugs that had for example, biosynthetic origin, where we had to extract it from a plant or something, that has now, you know, once we kind of figured out how to synthetically break it down from raw materials, it is then, you know, a lot safer to use, and also often the efficacy of production is a lot higher. So so that helps.
Wow, that was super informative. I don't know what about you, Heidi, but I feel very happy with modern medicine at the moment.
I hope it wasn't like a, you know, 40-minute ramble session.
No, it was great. Okay. Learned a lot about biomes and genome. I don't think you're talking about biome. Never mind. Scrap that. I'm not in the FSC, and you can tell. My true colors are coming out.
Don't expose yourself like this, Daria.
I think I did in the introduction. It's just a refresher at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks so much for chatting to us. It was
awesome.
I hope it was fun for you as it was for us.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. I hope some of it came across as coherent, and
all of it very coherent.
I recommend the pharmacy program. It's a lot of fun so far.
Amazing.
You want to give yourself competition?
Sure, why not? As in, like, you know, the competition is always useful, and sure, I'm not the best as it is anyway, so it's okay.
Well, on that bombshell.
Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time with our Christmas special episode, where we won't really have any guests, but we'll just have a good time.
Yeah. Bye.
All right, bye.